straight to Nigeria, where President Muhammadu Buhari says his government is in talks to release the remaining Chibok girls. In a statement, the president says his administration has reached out to the Boko Haram captors through local and international intermediaries, and it is doing everything to ensure their safe release. Friday marks 3 years since over 270 young women were kidnapped from Chibok Secondary School in Borno State. More than 20 were released in October of last year in a deal brokered by the International Red Cross. Others have escaped or been rescued, but at least 195 are still believed to be held captive by the militants. Well, rights activists in Nigeria have been observing a week of activities to remember the hundreds of girls kidnapped from a school in Chibok in northern Nigeria. It's been 3 years since the abductions by the militant group Boko Haram. In 2016, 21 girls were released, but at least another 197 are still missing. Here's Sophia Adengo.
A symbol of hope. For 3 years, these activists have been at the forefront advocating for the rescue of the Chibok girls. The more than 200 girls were kidnapped on the night of April 14th and 15th, 2014. Boko Haram has often shown some of the girls in their propaganda videos, like this one.
We say 3 years too long, no more excuses. Enough of the excuses that our government are giving us. Enough of the excuses from the president. Enough of the excuses from the people who are supposed to ensure that our children, our Chibok girls are protected.
The Nigerian government has come under increased pressure over its response to the abductions. With each ribbon tied here and across the city, activists and families of the missing girls share the anguish that comes with waiting for all the girls' safe return. In October of last year, 21 of the remaining students held by Boko Haram were freed, a rare piece of good news indicating that some of the girls were still alive. Many of the girls gave testimony of forced marriage to their captors, with activists demanding more help from their government in the girls' rescue. The 21 girls who have been in a government safe house have been placed in secondary schools to sit for their final exams. Nigeria's military claims to have recaptured territory lost to Boko Haram, but the whereabouts of the 190-plus girls remains unknown. For many Nigerians, the third anniversary is not just another day.
I have to call my friends, talk to them about the need for these girls to be free, because Nigerians were not happy knowing that a part of us, those girls they could be our sisters, they are our sisters, they are our friends, you understand?
So I will tell my neighbors, I will tell anybody that I know that they should stand just a minute for the Chibok girls.
As a Nigerian, you know, it's really painful having our Chibok girls stayed for 3 years without, rescuing them. It is so bad that the girls were allowed to be kidnapped in the first place. And it is more painful that after they're kidnapped, we are yet to have them rescued 3 years after.
3 years on, and as the days continue to add up, the Bring Back Our Girls movement and family members continue to demand answers, and their girls holding on to hope that they will soon return home. Sophia Adengo, CGTN, Abuja, Nigeria.
And we can now cross over to CGTN's Deji Badmus. He's joining us live from Lagos. Deji, what more can you tell us about the government's efforts towards the release of the remaining girls? It's been 3 years so far.
And there's no question at all that this is taking too long, Beatrice, but what we're learning from the government is that it is still trying to negotiate with Boko Haram. The vice president actually confirmed that on Tuesday when he addressed some select journalists, saying that the government was still negotiating with Boko Haram for the release of the about 195 girls who are still missing. And of course, the president issued a statement today confirming also that indeed the government was in talks with Boko Haram. He also sounded somewhat frustrated by saying that the government has actually reached out to both local and international intermediaries to try and intervene to open that channel to see if they could actually help. But he did say that no matter what, that he will do everything everything possible now to ensure that the girls return. So confirming indeed that the government is in talks with Boko Haram, but of course not disclosing how those talks are actually going. But saying, telling the parents of the girls not to lose hope and that the government would ensure that these girls return. So
it does remain unclear, though, Deji, as to how exactly these talks are progressing. But there was optimism earlier of an imminent release soon after the release of the first batch of girls. So why has it taken this long?
Well, to be candid, Beatrice, just imagine how long it took, for instance, to secure the release of the 21 girls who were released sometime last year. It definitely would take long. And I think part of the problem, too, is that Boko Haram is no longer one. You know, the group is now split in two. You have two different factions. And as we speak today, we do not even know the faction that is holding on to these girls, whether it's the Abubakar Shekau faction or the Albanawi faction. So that is also a problem. And another reason, of course, could also be that, you know, there's this issue of trust as well, that both sides have not been able to establish that trust. Apart from that, there's no question also that the government would be hoping that apart from these Chibok girls, we also know that Boko Haram is holding on to some other people. So no question at all that the government would want to secure the release of these other girls. But one sticking point here, of course, has been the issue of this split in the ranks of Boko Haram. And then the agreement as to what, you know, agreement to the terms of Boko Haram. But with what the president has said today, the president has said the government is willing to bend over backwards to secure the release of the girls. Some people would say that is a clear indication that the government is ready to yield much ground to ensure that these girls are released. But no question at all that the talks may not be going on too smoothly, but then the government is not disclosing anything at all for security reasons. Beatrice?
Right, Deji Badmus for us there in Lagos. Thank you.